This is Sign 19 coming through with another deck profile for Genesis of the Five Greats. Today we're doing Baromagnes. I just wanted to give you guys this image because I'm a little mad that the secondary ride lines, their images don't match up. Come on, Bushiroad. You guys could have did a lot better than you did the same way you did for the trial decks. You could have had the secondary decks arts match up at least. But I digress. Alright, so we're going to zoom in. Boop. Here we are. This is Master of Gravity Baromagnes. So this is the secondary Dark State deck that came in Genesis of the Five Greats. I just finished it recently. I've been test playing it a lot. This deck is very, very strong. And you can, it's a good tempo deck, and you can pressure your opponent throughout the entire game because because of his very, very useful skill is when this unit attacks, counterblast one, perform all the effects following down below for as many cards as you have in the soul. 5 or more, draw a card. 10 or more, he gains 10k in a crit. 15 or more, you and your opponent both put all of their rear guards into the soul, then you get to call 2 rear guards out of your soul and give them both plus 10k. So not only does he represent a lot of the dark irregular stuff, but his last skill also mixes in the Pale Moon play style as of calling units out of your soul. So he's an all around good boss unit, and personally my personal favorite. We're gonna go down the ride line before we go into the main deck and things like that, and see how each of the other cards tie into Baromagnes. Excuse me. So we're gonna go into the grade 2, which is Electro Spartan. Now, Electro Spartan doesn't have a technically on-plays Vanguard skill. He has when rolled by Baromagnes, his skill goes off. But he's not only used in the Baromagnes deck, he's also used in the Bruce deck for the simple fact of his secondary skill, which is when this unit is placed on rearguard, counterblast 1, soul charge 2. Just another way to get you to that 5+. That way, when you go into your final rush, that you can pop off. But his Vanguard skills when this unit is rolled upon by Master of Gravity Baromagnes, put a card from your hand into your soul, draw a card, and soul charge 1 card. So he also, on the Vanguard circle, when he's rolled upon, he also does a soul charge 2 and also gives you an extra draw. So he's a filter and an extra soul charge. Next, we have Deep Sonicer. So Deep Sonicer is one of your main key cards in the ride line and out of the ride line. And we'll get to that later. But his skill is when this unit is placed on Vanguard, soul charge 1. So he is what starts your soul charging. Then he has his constant skill. During your turn, if your soul has 10 or more cards in it, this unit gets plus 10,000. So he becomes an 18,000 booster or beater. And that's very important. Finally, the grade 0 of the ride line, Uncanny Burning. So just like all other grade 0s in their respective ride lines, if you go second when rolled upon, draw a card. Okay, guys, that is the ride line. So we're going to go right into the grade 3s. So, of course, we're going to zoom out here. Boom. We're playing 3 more copies of Baromagnes for a full play set. We're also playing 4 copies of his partner, Phantasm Magician Curtis. So Curtis says, when placed on rearguard, if your Vanguard is Master of Gravity Baromagnes soul charge 2. So it is not a cost, it is a mandatory skill. So you must be wary that if you're running low on deck, if you play him or call him out from out of the soul to rearguard, he is going to soul charge 2. So be careful. Then he has the additional axe skill. If your soul has 10 or more cards in it, counterblast 2, the entire front row gains plus 5k. Me personally, I don't like this skill because it's too expensive. And then when you go into Baromagnes' skill, the 2 rear guards that got the plus 5, those 2 circles no longer have them because they get sucked into the soul. So I really don't see a point in actually using this skill, even if you're trying to hit for numbers. There's really no point. And then the last grade 3 that I play, yes, we play more than just 8 grade 3s. We play the grade 3 order, Crawl, You, Insects. So, very useful skill. It is play this with Counterblast 1, then Soul Charge 1. Choose one of your units, and then it gets plus 10k for every 5 cards in your soul. So, if you have 5, a unit gets 10. If you have 10, a unit gets 20. If you have 15, a unit can get 30, and so on and so forth. This card can ramp up some powers like crazy. And not to mention, this is really good in my premium Baromagnes deck, which I will be putting on the channel later. Maybe later today. So that is all of the grade 3s. We're going to go into the grade 2s. We have a small count of grade 2s. We play the rest of the play set of the Electro Spartan, and then we play 4 copies of Selfish Engraver, which in my opinion is the best Dark State card. I wish she has an S. I don't know if she has an SP, but I know she has a foil. I wish she came in SP because I would literally buy them for my premium deck because this card is so good. And let me tell you why. So her skill is when this unit attack hits, not hit the Vanguard, just hits. Soul Charge 1. But that's not where it gets good. Her other skill is at the end of her battle, if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, put her into your soul and counter charge 1. So just by having 10 cards in your soul, which is not hard to do, in most Dark State decks, it's not hard to do in both Dark State decks and the premium side of Dark States. This card is amazing. You are always guaranteed your soul charge. I mean your counter charge, sorry. Unless they pop her off for in premium, for there are other ways to get rid of her in premium, but if they don't have any way to control your board or pop your board, she is a guaranteed counter charge. Best card. And because in this deck we're drawing so much almost every single turn, we usually draw into her, so we don't need that many grade 2s. So we're gonna go into the grade 1s. Sorry. We play 3 copies of Steam Battler Gungaram. So Gungaram is a very interesting card. So as I've been playing Overdress, I find as though that you need to have what are known as throwaway cards. That way you can consistently use your ride deck. Gungaram for me is one of my throwaway cards. So once I get one on the board, I don't have to throw. I don't need more of him on the board. So Gungaram says when placed, Soul Charge 1. Then act. You can Soul Blast 3 and draw a card. Now, the reason why I believe this is important in Baromagnes' deck because sometimes you don't want to get to that 15k threshold. Sorry, the 15k cards and soul threshold so early. So by using his skill, you can manage your soul and keep it in check within that 10k range, that 10 soul range. That way you're only getting the extra draw and the extra plus 10k in crit. Because sometimes you don't want to lose the things on your board so soon and then have to spend time re-establishing a board. So that's why I think he's a very good card because he helps keep Baromagnes soul charging in check. Next, we play 4 copies of the Perfect Guard for Dark States. So you should know what these all do now. They have the traditional Perfect Guard skill, but then they also have the added part to it that if you have once you use this card as a Perfect Guard, if your hand is 1 or less cards, you do not have to discard for a Perfect Guard. So similar to, again, like I said, to 0 Perfect Guards, you don't have to discard once your hand is really low. Next, I play 3 copies of Direful Doll Simone. So her skill says, when this unit boosts, if your soul has 5 or more cards in it, you can counterblast 1. And when your opponent will call cards from his or her hand, they must call 2 or more. So she gives the guard restrict aspect for this deck because Baromagnes is always guaranteed a crit. Now, the only problem that I see that this deck is having is that you need to have at least 2 to 3 open counterblasts per turn to use everything on your board. If you don't, you're going to have to start picking and choosing which skills go off and in which order they go off so you can get the most out of each of your turns. But if you're going into a kill turn, make sure that you have at least those 3 open counterblasts so you can use Baromagnes, and Dire in conjunction with each other. That way, your opponent has to guard with two or more cards when the Vanguard is swinging. And finally, we played two more copies of our grade one ride line, which is Deep Sonicer. We already went over his skill, but the reason why we do this and play Deep Sonicer over anything else is that once you swing a Barrel Magnet and you have those 15 cards or so, he is the card that you're gonna most likely gonna pop out, because once you have 15 more cards, so you call those two out, he gets plus 10k. Then Baromagnes gives each of them plus 10k, making them 28. And then if you Persona Road, that's 38 on two extra rearguard attacks. That is a heavy, hard hitting number for your opponent to defend even after the barrage of the first three attacks. So that is my grade 1 lineup. We're going to go into the grade 0s. So as the mat states, we do play the one over trigger, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Hades Dragon Deity of Resentment. Galvamithade. So his over trigger ability is additional effect is that once this is triggered during my turn, all of my Vanguards gain plus 10k and an extra crit until the end of this fight. Not to the end of the turn nor the end of the battle, to the end of the game. So no matter if I ride over my Vanguard, I get plus 10k and a crit. So if I hit this early on grade 1, woo, my opponent is in the world for hurt. So in addition to that, we play 4 heal, 4 front, 4 crit. We don't need any more crits than just 4 because the Vanguard gets an inherent crit already. The crits are more just for the rear guards. And we play 3 draw. Now, I'm considering dropping the draws for more fronts or more crits, depending on how I feel. Because like I said, this deck does draw a lot and you do soul charge a lot. So you don't want to burn. You can literally burn your deck pretty fast. There has been some games where I'm left with nothing but 1 card left in my deck. And if I didn't win that turn, I immediately lose my next turn. So I might want to drop these 3 draws for more fronts or for more crits. It depends on play testing and things like that. But for right now, the draws are just there just to help me get to my pieces. Basically, that is the entire deck in a nutshell. I would do test hands, but I don't think it's really necessary because the main play is just to soul charge, get the your number count at least up to 10, then sit there at 10 until you're ready to kill your opponent, and then get the extra 5 in your soul, and then go to town. But in my opinion, Baromagnes is a very strong, sturdy deck. Only thing is that you have to be wary of your resource management. But besides that, once you got that locked down, boy, this deck will take you places. In my opinion, I've had fights against Bruce. Good players. Baromagnes always usually comes out on top in the Dark State mirror match. I haven't done the Baromagnes versus Baromagnes, so I can't really tell you that. But between the two of them, I'm in the Baromagnes camp. If you guys liked what you saw here, if you have any questions, any comments down below, please put them down below. I'd like to give a little shout out to my subscribers. Seems that we're reaching all the way to the UK. I'm talking to you, Voltage Gaming. Thank you for being a watcher, a supporter, and a viewer. But yeah, I had no idea that we had some viewers out in the UK. I'm very shocked and humbled by that. We're a very small channel. We're getting subscribers here and there, at least every month, which I appreciate wholeheartedly. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not. I don't think I would have continued. But I'm gonna keep trudging forward, especially with the new content that's coming up for the Overdress. I get a chance to start fresh with alongside everyone else. So if you guys like my content, I'm only going to be able to get better and better the more you guys subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell button, leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. Even if you just leave a thumbs up down in the algorithm or just a way to go, it's something. So, with a humble heart, I'll say thank you and see you guys later.